Uh, I think you're on mute.
Workday starting to sound the same?
I think you're on mute.
Find something that sounds better for your career on LinkedIn. With LinkedIn Job Collections, you can browse curated collections by relevant industries and benefits, like flex PTO or hybrid workplaces, so you can find the right job for you. Get started at linkedin.com/jobs. Finding where you fit. LinkedIn knows how.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
War Eagle, and welcome to Ever to Podcast, our somewhat regular get-together in audio format here at E2C Network, where we share the Auburn experience. That experience to us is about a few things: Auburn sports, Auburn culture, and Auburn family stuff. An easier way to put it, though, might be, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. So thank you so much for joining us and what we're going to be doing today on Ever to Podcast, episode 31. Today's date is June 26, 2025. I'm your host, as always, Kyle Loomis, to bring you the latest Auburn-related news, discussions, scuttlebutt, things that are on social media, out and about in the Auburn fandom space. Lots to talk about today, as always. We're going to talk about some preseason list and who is falling on certain lists, maybe gives you a little bit of excitement for the football season. We're going to look at the next release of Auburn's soccer schedule for their 2025 season, and then we may look at final rankings for Auburn baseball and a few other things if there's time. With that being said, let's get into it right now. We have got to talk about Phil Steele. Now, most of you will know the name Phil Steele if you're a college football fan. His publication has been put out every single year, it feels like, whether you're talking about just looking at it online or looking at the actual hard copy that you used to get growing up. Every summer, that's what it seemed like every coffee table had in a college football family's house. The Phil Steele preseason, just predictions, the look at the roster, those things. Those are harder and harder to make these days with how much the rosters change so frequently with the transfer portal, but it hasn't stopped them from putting out lists and making predictions and things like that. And of course, that includes everybody, including Auburn football. So we're going to start right there today with where Phil Steele has put some Auburn Tigers on potential preseason All-SEC lists and potential All-Americans in the preseason for the Auburn Tigers. Let's start in his predictions for all SEC teams, or this is at least his preseason thoughts about that. The first teamer for Auburn is, you guessed it, Cam Coleman. Not a shock that he would find himself already in a prospective first-team situation for all SEC. That shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody. Everybody else is in a second, third, and a fourth team. I didn't know that he did a fourth team. That was a little bit of a shock to me. Second team, guys, we've got three of them. Eric Singleton Jr., obviously the transfer from Georgia Tech. Xavier Chaplin, and a transfer from Virginia Tech. And Rashawn Pleasant, who's also a transfer. I'll be honest with you, you're going to hear this come up in a second. People need to probably start paying attention to Rashawn Pleasant. So you've got three guys that are all in the second team that are all transfers coming into Auburn. So what does that mean for you, other than this is just a list that maybe gets you hyped and that's all it is? It means nothing about exactly what's going to happen. But obviously there's some very big expectations, nationally at the very least, around those three guys right there, even as transfers coming in from those various places. So that's your second team. Your third team, Connor Liu and Keldrick Falk. I'm going to be 100% honest with you here. I would have swapped those two into second team All-SEC before some of the transfers there. And that's no shade thrown at them. I think Connor Liu has proven himself from a freshman, true freshman, that he is going to be a superstar in the football space forever as long as he can stay healthy. I think it is a travesty that he is at third team in this list. I think it's also a travesty that Keldrick Falk is not at least a second teamer, because people are already predicting him to be a first rounder next year in the draft for the NFL. Again, in the grand scheme of things, this list doesn't matter. It's just for fun. But when you look at some of these things, you're like, what? How did that work out in your head right there? And apparently we do a fourth team now. Kayan Lee and Jeremiah Wright. I'm glad that they got some recognition. I think those two guys especially are very crucial cornerstones on each of their units, cornerback, offensive line. So I'm glad that they're getting some recognition for Phil Steele. So 8 Tigers on Phil Steele's All-SEC team. Really quickly, we does also have an All-American list right now as well, too. That means across the entire nation, not just the SEC. He has 3 guys in his preseason All-America list. That is going to be Rashawn Pleasant. I told you to pay attention there. And then, of course, what everybody is hyped about, the wide receivers, Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton Jr. So that shouldn't surprise you that those 2 guys especially are in that list, but maybe not even should surprise you that Rashawn Pleasant, because there's a lot of talk around him as a defensive back. A lot of people are really excited about him. And actually, he's on the special teams. I should clarify. He is 4th team special teams. Cam is 2nd team offense, and Eric is 4th team offense. This is throwing me off really badly that there's a 4th team these days. That's how bad it's gotten. We need more things to talk about, so we don't just do 1st, 2nd, and 3rd team. It used to be just 1st and 2nd team. All right, stop ranting, Kyle. Let's move on. You got your Phil Steele updates for All-Americans and All-SEC for the Auburn Tigers right now. Let's update you on Auburn soccer's schedule. As I alluded to, all this week they were going to piecemeal, which I love that strategy, the schedule throughout the week. We've already got the non-conference, so if you want to be updated on that, check their website out or their social media or listen to yesterday's episode. But we've got the SEC schedule. Now, let's take a real quick look at it. I'll read it for you briefly. Starting off with Ole Miss on September 12th, and that is going to be away. First home game is Texas A&M September 18th. Then away again at Mississippi State on September 21st. That is interesting because our brand new head coach in his first year, Coach Armstrong, just came from Mississippi State and has to go back there. Back home on the 26th for LSU. Vanderbilt, October 2nd on the road. South Carolina, October 5th at home. Alabama on the road on October 10th. October 16th, back home for Oklahoma. On the road, we're Georgia, October 19th. And then finally back home for Missouri on October 26th. And you can see the times listed there if you're interested in planning out your week. Now, listen, I know a lot of you, as I've always addressed, aren't the biggest soccer fans in the world, but you should be, especially because it's Auburn, because it's orange and blue. And there are a lot of good opportunities to come see these Tigers on these weekend games, especially whether it's a Sunday, if you can stay through. Sometimes they've had them on a Friday night, the night before a football game. There's no excuses not to come for those. But here's the biggest takeaways from this schedule for me. And that's some tough stuff for Coach James Armstrong in his first year. Already addressed that he's got to go to Mississippi State and face his former team at their place, although he will be familiar with him and familiar with them. So maybe it's not going to be as big of a deal. But you know they're going to be chomping at the bit. I'm actually looking at that post right now, and there's some Mississippi State soccer fans in there that are definitely excited about that potential matchup. But think about this. You've got to go to Alabama and Georgia, your 2 biggest rivals across all sports, on the road. This feels like a football schedule, and this is in some ways football. So that right there is just kind of weird to think about. It looks like it's going to be a challenging schedule. I'm not well versed on exactly who is at the top of SEC soccer right now, but you know it's the SEC. The best athletes come here, and thus it's going to be the toughest conference usually, or at least be one of the toughest in every single sport. But there you go. It's nicely staggered, home and away. A couple of weekends there for you to maybe mark on your calendar alongside some college football weekends for some college soccer additional focus for you. Maybe you can come and check that out while you're there for a game potentially this weekend. Now, let's talk about this. I want to talk about baseball just a little bit. I know we're putting it on the back burner. It was a disappointing end to the season, but I cannot stress this enough as we look at the final rankings in a few of the publications, and there are a lot actually out there, so it's always hard to pinpoint which one you're supposed to talk about. But what a great season for Auburn baseball as we kind of wrap that up and put that to bed. It was so nice to see them bounce back from a shockingly bad year the year before and right the ship with such young talent that's got to make you excited for the future, hosting a super regional. At the end of the season, they end up ranked 10th, 11th, 11th, 13th, and 13th across 5 different publications. I know a few of these. Baseball America has them 10th. D1 Baseball has them at 11th. USA Today has them at 13th. That might be one you're at least familiar with. The NCBWA has them at 13th, and I don't know that last one. Player's Guide or something like that is 11th. So 10, 11, 11, 13, 13. So we probably take the averages of those and put it somewhere in 11 to 12, right on the cusp of top 10 after a season like that. You got to be proud of Coach Book Thompson, of the baseball team, and what they were able to do this year. Really excited for the future of them and what they've got coming out there for Plainsman Park next year. And finally, let me remind you that the NBA draft is currently ongoing. Depending on when you're listening to this, it maybe is already done or about to happen. Last night was the first round. Janai did not get drafted. That's not really a big shock. There are projections for him to go in the second round, and a lot of them people who are talking about at the end of the night that he's one of the best available right now. So I think all expectations would be that he would get picked up by someone tonight. We'll certainly talk about that tomorrow. Even if he weren't to get drafted in the traditional sense, I bet he would have a contract in some way. So we'll be updating you on that tomorrow. Who knows? Maybe there'll be a surprise for someone else. There's some other good prospects from Auburn too. But we'll definitely be watching for Janai's potential drafting tonight in the second round of the NBA draft. That's going to do it for episode 31 of the I almost said the Auburn Experience again, Ever to Podcast, which is our somewhat daily one here for you here during the midweek. Thank you so much for tuning in here with us. As always, we'd love to hear from you. Drop us a line at e2cnetwork@gmail.com or at our social medias and our direct messages. You can do that. If there's something you want to suggest for a topic, tell us a story that you want read here, anything like that, we'll certainly consider that. We always love hearing from you. Thank you for subscribing and dropping a review and podcasts as well. Until we talk to you again, War Eagle.